You're locked in to the hottest station on the planet.
Resistance is futile. The revolution has begun.
You're listening to Rebelpreneur Radio, helping you break the rules and build the business you need for the life you want. And now, broadcasting his pirate signal
from somewhere beyond the status quo,
here's your host, best-selling author, marketing and media strategist, Ralph Brogden.
Hello and welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio. It's the show that helps you build the business you need so you can live the life you want. I'm Ralph Brogden. I have a saying, I don't know if someone else has said it before me, but any idiot can make something complicated. It takes a real genius to make something simple. So keeping that in mind, is it possible that we have tried to make success too complicated? Is there a simple solution to success? Well, some people say yes, and today's guest even believes that we can create success in as little as 5 minutes a day. Is that possible? She says yes, and she believes that sustained success is about more than just surviving. It is about thriving. I'm speaking today with Karen Briscoe. She is the creator of the transformative 5-minute success concept. Her books include Real Estate Success in 5 Minutes a Day, Secrets of a Top Agent Revealed, and Commit to Get Leads, 66-Day Challenge, which offers a combination of information and inspiration delivered through memorable stories. The daily format with takeaways propels one to achieve success at a higher level in their business and life, and that's why we are all here. Karen is the host of the 5-Minute Success podcast, which is ranked number 1 on Overcast as most recommended in the business category. Karen Briscoe, welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio.
Well, Ralph, I'm delighted to be here, and we have several connections, so it makes it even more powerful to visit with you about being a rebelpreneur in the business space and life, I would say.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We were chatting offline about all the connections and the networks that we are running around in. And so it's a real pleasure to connect with you directly because I think we are running in some of the same circles, and it's nice when those circles overlap. Well, you have a very extensive biography, and I think that in and of itself is a testimony to this principle of 5-minute success, which I want to hear all about. But first, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to be where you are.
Well, I am a residential real estate mega agent in the Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. metro region. And I came at that from commercial real estate background, but spent about 15 years being the primary caregiver for our children as my husband's career and travel schedule made that happen. And I was glad and blessed that I was able to do it. When I re-entered the workforce, I became successful pretty quickly. I mean, in terms of working with buyers and sellers on the residential side. And as often happens, when people meet with success quickly, everybody wants to know how you do it, right? And so that led to some coaching and training and writing a blog, and I had a voice. And that was I started in residential real estate in 2002 and then went through the run up in the market and then the crash of the market and then the recovery of the market, which had lots of stories to tell.
Yeah.
And I would share with people that really business and personal development should be a key aspect to their lives. And everybody kept saying they didn't have enough time. And so I was like, well, do you have 5 minutes a day? Because I wanted to make it so small that ridiculous in a way that they could say, well, yeah, of course I do.
Right. Yeah.
To break down this time thing, because time has become almost a competitive arena, Ralph.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody says how busy they are, right? And so we all have the same amount of hours and days. And there's actually a Lao Tzu quote, which is from 1,500 years ago. So this is not a new phenomenon. He said, time is a created thing. To say I don't have time is like saying I don't want to. So I'm like, okay, so you really don't want to do personal to business development, because if you really wanted to do it, you would find the time, right?
You'd find the time, you'd make the time, you'd do something, wouldn't you? You'd get it
that's
somewhere.
the thing. Right. So it's actually a proven strategy in habit formation to break down almost to the ridiculous, right? So you start small and you build up. That's why 5 minutes works. And the reason why the book or the materials, which is, you can do audio format as well, is set up to be daily, because that builds this habit of investing in yourself. And there's a lot of research on this, but what I found is that the reason why inspiration and motivational literature for eons has been often delivered in a daily reader is because when people read business books or development books, it becomes almost a tsunami-like. Ralph, it's too much information.
And drinking from the proverbial fire hose all at once.
Right. So you've had this experience.
I've been on the other end of the fire hose.
Oh, yeah.
I've been the one spraying everybody. And
whoa, you're like going, how do I know what to implement? What do I? And it often leads to nothing happening.
Right.
And so the idea of breaking it down to daily, so investing 5 minutes a day, then that the material is in an inspiration and information. So inspiration is motivational and sometimes can be a little fluff, right? But information sometimes can be a little dry and can be like, so how do you, when you bring the two together, then that's when transformation happens. And there's been a lot of research on this. And what I found is that people are really seeing change happening in their business and life by investing 5 minutes a day. And that's what led to, there's this domino effect of the rest of my story, but that's where the 5 minute success concept came in.
Wow. Now, the name of your most recent book is Flip Time, Love Life. It's based on your heroine's journey from being too busy and overwhelmed to loving the life that you have while you're creating and co-creating the life of your dreams. That sounds like something that a lot of people would be interested in. Give us the Reader's Digest version of flipping time. Is that like a real estate term? Is that where you got that from?
Well, yeah, it's like flipping houses. No, flipping time is based on the idea that, again, back to this competitive arena of being busy. And if it's a creative thing, then that really means that we decide. Many people may remember the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? The pyramid, where you work your way up the pyramid. You start with your basic needs, your physiological needs, your safety needs, your esteem needs, your relationship needs, and then you get to self-actualization, right? Mm-hmm. Well, what happens if you run out of time and you don't get to self-actualization?
Then you're not living a happy life, are you?
Right. Or what happens if you are successful, and this is what I see over and over again, you've achieved success and you look around and you go, that's it? I'm here and now this is it? So the idea of flipping time is really there's a lot of, time management theory and balancing work life and all that. I'm like, yeah, no, those don't work either, right? Because something's always going to be out of balance. And time management is really managing yourself. It's not managing time. So the idea of flipping time is to put self-actualization first. And then once you do that, what I've discovered in my life and other people that get it, have that epiphany, they go, oh, I see everything else gets better. Because if you think about it, your relationships are going to be better if you're authentic and living, your life that you're designed to live, your heroine's journey. You mentioned that. Hero's journey, that's the classic from Joseph Campbell, the idea that we're all called to do something, to be something, to have something. And so when we stray and do all the other things, and there's always going to be this this unhappiness, this unrest, this there's something for me to do. So your relationships are going to be better. You're going to actually, in most cases, be more productive. So what I found is the more I'm living my authentic life, then the more successful I've become, I mean, my business has actually doubled. So a lot of people, and I'm going to say women, but men too, they think that it's selfish. Self-actualization can often be seen as selfish because it is an investment. It's an investment of time. It's an investment of money in many cases. And that could be taken away from business, or it could be taken away from relationships. But the thing is that it ultimately, benefits everybody, because what I found, if you're living true to your highest and best self, that's what we talk about in real estate. We always want to use real estate at its highest and best use. So, think about yourself as being your greatest asset.
That's right.
Even Warren Buffett said that. Ultimately, there's one investment that supersedes all others. Invest in yourself.
This is true. And when you say that, I always use two ways to illustrate that. And the first is when you're on the airplane about to take off, and they say, if you have any problems and you see the oxygen mask drops down, put your mask on first before you help anybody else. Why would they say that? Because if you don't help yourself first, you're going to pass out. Then you can't help anybody else. So put your mask on first, then you're able to help other people. The other thing I learned was in EMT class. They said when you're driving the ambulance to a scene, that the most important thing to remember is you have to get there safely. If you don't get there safely, you can't help anybody else, and you've just made everything worse. So I think those are two illustrations that really highlight the importance of what you're talking about, Karen, that we've got to take care of ourselves first. And that's not selfish. That's just common sense. That's survival, so that then we can fulfill our higher purpose, which is to be able to make a difference in other people's lives. But we can't do that if our life is all messed up, can we?
And I think that it's actually even better than that, because obviously that if you're on an airplane and they're dropping oxygen masks and survive, yes, please do that. The perspective of living life from survival, though, is not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about living life from a thrival perspective.
Yes.
So it's actually an abundance. So like there's plenty of oxygen. Right. So it's not like I have to take all this oxygen so that then I can survive. I'm taking on the oxygen, if you will, so I can thrive. Mm-hmm. And that it can have several different ways that it can happen. Impact is one is the domino effect, right? So by doing that, then everything else kind of falls in place. Or there's also the snowball effect. By doing that, it actually builds over time. And then the other way to look at it is it's like the pebble that's thrown in the pond. The ripples, you may not even know where they're going, but they will start to proceed out from them. So the flipping time and the putting self-actualization first, that's where you love the life you have. And it's many times I find on this journey for people is they're like, I'm going after my vision. I'm creating the life I want, but it's all in the future. Yeah, I'm going to do that after the kids are, in college, or I'm going to do that after I retire. I'm going to do that after I lose 20 pounds, whatever it is. It's all future based. And vision is absolutely part of creating the life you love. At the same time, though, to live the life right now.
Yeah. Right.
So it's a both and. It's not an or, which is where also why it's a flipping. So it happens first for right now.
That makes a lot of sense. And I could see how if you set your life up that you have to get to the destination in order to be happy, you're missing out the joy of the journey. And that really it's the journey that gets you to that destination, but that's where the life is being lived. It's the power of right now. That leads me to the first big question that I always ask people as they're in the helping profession, like you are, helping people to self-actualize and to find success in 5 minutes a day. What's the biggest obstacle? Why is it so hard for us to focus on ourselves in a healthy way, not in a self-centered way, but in a way that we are actually becoming a better version of ourselves so that we can do more good in the world. What's holding us back? What's the big obstacle?
Well, the epiphany I had is the person who was holding me back was me. And
well, there you go. That's the simple answer, isn't it?
Yeah, there you go, right? Because when I realized it wasn't waiting for the market to change or waiting for, one of my family members to change or waiting for, the weather to change. When I stopped looking for the outside and realized that and actually that was the really empowering, because when I realized I didn't need anybody else, I need other people in my life, right? But I didn't need them to change in order for me to be happy and love the life I have. Mm-hmm. Then I could then change the way I look at it. So there's a couple of great quotes, and one is a Wayne Dyer, and that is, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is the obstacle is the perspective.
Yes.
That's the biggest obstacle, is the perspective. The perspective that when I have enough time, then I will do it. Or when I have enough money, then I'll do it. Or when I have whatever, fill in the blank, then that I will do it. And so the perspective that you have all those things now, so finding the time is not really the issue, right?
Yeah.
It's really not.
It reminds me of a quote from Stephen Covey, where he wrote, I think it was in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that if you think that the problem is out there, then that thought is the problem. So the problem is not the external thing. It's us thinking that the problem is the external thing. And so we are the biggest problem. We are the biggest obstacle to our own success and happiness. Well, I mean, you answered that very succinctly, and it seems real obvious now, but what can we do about it? How can we begin to get over ourselves, get out of ourselves, get beyond ourselves, and really step into this life that is about thriving and not just surviving?
So this is where the 5-minute success is a brilliant tool, okay, a strategy for success, because starting small and building up is a proven method of habit formation, and habits really can have more impact than willpower, or because that's a resource that tends to diminish. So there's a quote by F.M. Alexander: people do not decide their futures, they decide their habits, and their habits decide their futures.
Powerful.
So I know that you've had this phenomenon happen where getting ready to go on vacation, right? And all the things that need to happen. So it really isn't the time. Okay, back to I really want to get people to have a total paradigm shift about it. And so if you're wanting to make true change, then to set a habit, and most people benefit from setting one at a time and really getting it into place before adding another one. There's a lot of strategy associated with habits, and there's some great resources. And then commit to that. And there's a lot of timelines that people recommend. The most common research is 66 days. And so it can be even as simple as there's lots of apps out there now, or just a piece of paper. You can get a calendar on my website at 5-Minute Success that has a 66-day challenge. And the reason why 66 days is because the first 3 weeks to 21 to 22 days, people who make a commitment to a habit, they're very evangelistic about it usually. I use the example of, think about somebody who's just gotten a Peloton or a Whole30, food diet program, right? They're like telling the world, and they're on board, and they're ready to go. What happens is, the reason why some people say habits formation is 3 weeks, but most people go through a dip for the next 3 weeks, the next 21 to 22 days. And the key is to power through that dip, to when you're evaluating whether you want to continue to do it or not, if it's something for your part of what you want to make happen in your life, then yes, you want to do it. You want to power through the challenges, because then most people then start to experience the benefits of it the next 21 to 22 days. That's why 66 days. And the key is, though, once a true habit is a habit for duration. It's like brushing your teeth. You're not going to stop, right? So you put the habit in place. What I found is starting small and building up is a great strategy, and you'll start to experiencing the benefits of it, and you'll want to do more. And so then you'll start to see the positive impact, and that will propel you to the next level if you are, ready to do it. But this is a way to break it down and go small. Many habits is another terminology that's often used.
I love that. And, we're talking about the power of simplicity. There's also the power, and you have spoken to it very eloquently, the power of smallness. We think about big business, big sales, want to grow and expand, but we've got to really, I think, what is key here is to create the sustained success that you're talking about. We've got to have a strong foundation, and we can start by implementing these habits in as little as 5 minutes a day to create that success so that it is sustainable beyond the 21 days, beyond the 44 days, firmly established in 66 days. And then you get to that wonderful place where you're not even thinking about it anymore. You're not having to remind yourself that you need to do this. It is pulling on you instead of you trying to hang on to it. And that's a really exciting place to be in.
It becomes part of your identity. And that is key, because recognizing that is where true change happens, when people see themselves differently. Back to how I said it's all about perspective. So, like, for example, if you're one of the things you want to change is your health, see yourself as an athlete, see yourself as a person who eats healthy. That will sustain longer than being on a program that once you finish it, then you're no longer that anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. If we begin to identify with that version of us that we want to be, we begin to create the behaviors and live consistently with that. It's the whole thing of cognitive dissonance. We tend to behave in ways consistent with how we see ourselves. So we've talked about paradigm shifts. We've talked about seeing things differently, seeing ourselves differently. It really comes down to your perception. And who's in control of your perception? You are. Nobody else. You.
Yeah, it's a changing. We talked a little bit. You talked about be, do, have. So a lot of people, they do certain behaviors so that they can have, they do work so that they can have success, so they can be happy. So the idea is, to be happy so that you do the work that you're called to do so that you can have success. So it's a complete shifting of the way you look at all those different aspects of your life.
Absolutely. I've been speaking with Karen Briscoe. The website is 5minutesuccess.com. Karen, you've got a lot of podcasts and all kinds of resources. What are you working on right now that's got you really excited that you'd like to share with our listeners?
So yes, the 5 Minute Success podcast airs 2 times a week, episodes interviewing, people that are achieving a high level of success in all different areas of business and life. And we're adding in October of 2019 on the podcast's 3rd birthday, a Flip Time Friday, where people are going to share their heroines and heroes' journeys to share how they've gone through this transformation, come back bearing gifts, and then how they're going back out again and to their next journey, their next mission or quest in their life. And so I think this is really powerful because people remember stories and they remember how other people do it. And so this is going to be something that I'm really excited about.
Excellent. So if you're listening to this and you're interested in achieving sustainable success that goes beyond surviving and is thriving, that doesn't rely upon other people, but relies upon you and how you see the world, then I encourage you to go check out Karen's website and her podcast. It's 5minutesuccess.com. And we'll have that link on the Rebelpreneur website as well. Karen, this has really been motivational, and I appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us. Any final words of wisdom that you'd like to leave us with?
Yes, thank you, Ralph, for having me on the Rebelpreneur Radio. And I would like to be sure everybody knows as well that the books, resources are available on the website as well as Amazon, the Real Estate Success in 5 Minutes a Day, Commit to Get Lead 66-Day Challenge, as well as Flip Time Love Life. And that if I can do it, you can too. So start today.
Wonderful. I've been speaking with Karen Briscoe. She is the creator of the transformative 5-minute success concept. You've heard about her books. You've heard about the podcast 5 Minute Success, ranked number 1 on Overcast as most recommended in the business category. So go check that out at 5minutesuccess.com. Karen, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your expertise with us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ralph.
You've been listening to Rebelpreneur Radio with Ralph Brogden. Download the show notes and much more at rebelpreneur.com.